Good evening. Tonight we invite you to pause and consider the significance of the news you're about to hear. In a world that never stops moving, understanding the headlines is more important than ever. In our interconnected world, global events shape our daily lives, economically, politically, and socially. What happens in one corner of the globe can ripple across continents, affecting markets, governments, and even the choices we make at home. The news is no longer just about distant places. It's about how those places are woven into the fabric of our own lives. Today, July 17, 2025, we're tracking major stories that impact every continent. From shifting alliances to economic shocks, the headlines reflect a world in flux, one where every development has the potential to reshape our collective future. From U.S. foreign aid cuts and IMF warnings to environmental disasters and diplomatic maneuvers, each headline is a piece of a larger puzzle. These stories are not isolated, they are deeply connected, revealing the challenges and opportunities facing humanity as a whole. We'll examine the fallout from U.S. aid cuts, the IMF's concerns over trade uncertainty, and the Eurozone's economic resilience amid global volatility. These economic shifts influence jobs, investments, and the stability of entire regions, reminding us that financial news is never just about numbers. It's about people's lives. Human stories matter too: a deadly fire in Iraq, devastating floods in South Korea, and rising geopolitical tensions between Russia, NATO, and Iran. Behind every headline are real people facing extraordinary challenges, and their experiences remind us of our shared vulnerability and resilience. We'll also cover NATO's new leader in Washington, President Trump's possible trip to South Asia, and a landmark climate ruling on the horizon. These developments could set the tone for international relations, security, and the global response to climate change for years to come. Each story is a thread in the narrative of our time, weaving together the hopes, fears, and ambitions of billions. The news is not just a record of events, it's a living chronicle of humanity's journey. By following them, we gain insight and a chance to prepare for what comes next. Staying informed empowers us to make better decisions, to empathize with others, and to play our part in shaping the future. Let's dive into today's most significant developments. Whether you're a policymaker, a student, or simply a concerned citizen, tonight's stories will help you understand the world, and your place in it, a little better. Here's what you need to know. Stay with us as we break down the headlines that matter most, and explore the forces shaping our world right now. In a troubling turn of events, recent U.S. foreign aid cuts have resulted in the destruction of nearly 500 tons of emergency food stored in a Dubai warehouse. These supplies, once a lifeline for people in desperate need, were left to expire and ultimately thrown away, a stark symbol of the unintended consequences of shifting aid policies. This food was originally meant for crisis zones like Syria and Bangladesh, where millions face hunger and malnutrition every day. For families in these regions, every meal can mean the difference between hope and despair. The wasted aid, valued at almost $800,000, sat unused until it expired in storage. Disposing of the spoiled food cost an additional $100,000, compounding the loss and highlighting the inefficiencies that can arise when aid is delayed or mismanaged. Experts estimate that this lost food could have fed 27,000 people for an entire month, enough to sustain a small city of refugees or vulnerable families struggling to survive. While some shipments were rerouted in time, the abrupt policy changes left established supply chains in disarray. Critics argue that these disruptions made it nearly impossible to get aid to those who needed it most, when they needed it. The Trump administration's push to replace traditional aid channels with private sector models has come under intense scrutiny. Supporters claim it could improve efficiency, but many experts and aid workers say the transition was rushed and poorly planned. Humanitarian organizations warn that these changes put the world's most vulnerable people at even greater risk, especially in regions already devastated by conflict, drought, or economic collapse. This incident stands as a stark reminder that decisions made in government offices can have devastating, real-world consequences for families thousands of miles away. The debate now centers on whether U.S. aid policy can strike a balance between much-needed reform and the responsibility to protect those who depend on American assistance. Lawmakers and aid groups are calling for urgent action and meaningful reforms to ensure that humanitarian aid reaches those in need before it's too late, and before another preventable tragedy occurs. The IMF warns that new U.S. tariffs, like the upcoming 50% duty on Brazilian goods and copper, are fueling global trade uncertainty. Businesses are stockpiling to dodge tariffs, but this is only a short-term fix. The real risk companies hesitate to invest, slowing growth worldwide. The IMF's upcoming report will detail which regions are most vulnerable to these tensions. As the world recovers from past disruptions, policymakers face mounting pressure to restore stability. The message is clear. Protectionist policies threaten the global economy. Investors, governments, and consumers alike are bracing for a bumpy road ahead. The IMF's warning is a call for urgent action to resolve trade disputes. The stakes: global jobs, growth, and economic security. Despite global headwinds and ongoing geopolitical tensions, the Eurozone economy continues to demonstrate remarkable resilience. Even as the U.S. threatens to impose new tariffs, which could disrupt international trade and unsettle markets, the Eurozone has managed to maintain a steady course. This stability is especially notable given the uncertainty facing other major economies, and it provides a sense of reassurance to investors and businesses operating in the region. Economists widely expect the European Central Bank to keep interest rates unchanged for the time being, as policymakers carefully monitor inflation and growth data. However, there is growing speculation that a rate cut could be on the horizon as early as September, aimed at stimulating economic activity and supporting job creation across the Eurozone. This period of relative stability offers a rare sense of predictability in a world that often feels dominated by volatility and rapid change. For businesses and consumers alike, this environment allows for more confident planning and investment decisions. Meanwhile, oil prices are experiencing a significant rally. This surge is being fueled by robust economic data from both the US and China, two of the world's largest energy consumers, as well as a notable drop in US oil inventories, which has tightened global supply. In June, China's oil demand jumped by an impressive 8.5%, reflecting a surge in industrial activity and signaling that the world's second-largest economy is gaining momentum. This uptick in demand is a key driver behind the recent rise in oil prices. OPEC, the influential oil producers group, has maintained its forecast for stronger global economic growth in the second half of the year. This outlook is based on expectations of continued recovery in major economies and steady demand for energy worldwide. Rising oil prices have a direct impact on everyday life, affecting costs at the gas pump, transportation expenses, and even the price of groceries and other essentials. Consumers and businesses alike are feeling the effects of these changes. The Eurozone's economic resilience, combined with the ongoing rally in oil markets, stands out as a bright spot amid a landscape of global uncertainty and shifting economic fortunes. As the world watches for the European Central Bank's next move and tracks the ripple effects in global energy markets, the coming months will be crucial for investors, policymakers, and consumers alike. Markets jolted today on rumors President Trump might fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. The Fed's independence is crucial. Any move to oust its leader would shake global confidence. Investors fled to safe assets, fearing unpredictable policy shifts. The White House later denied the rumors, calming markets, but the episode exposed deep anxieties about political interference. The relationship between the administration and the Fed remains tense. This incident shows how sensitive markets are to even the hint of instability. Investors now turn to upcoming tech earnings for signs of economic health. The less instability at the top matters, and uncertainty can move markets in an instant. The world is watching for the next signal from Washington. In Iraq, a fire at a new shopping mall in Al-Qut killed at least 69 people just days after opening. The blaze spread rapidly, raising urgent questions about safety standards and building codes. Authorities have declared 3 days of mourning as investigations begin. Meanwhile, South Korea faces deadly monsoon rains. Floods and landslides have killed at least 4 and forced over 1,000 to evacuate. Some regions saw record rainfall, overwhelming infrastructure, and heightening landslide risks. Emergency services remain on high alert as more rain is forecast. These tragedies highlight the human cost of both man-made and natural disasters. For Iraq and South Korea, the focus is on rescue and recovery. For the world, it's a stark reminder of the urgent need for safety and climate resilience. Russia escalated tensions today, warning NATO against sending advanced weapons to Ukraine. Dmitry Medvedev threatened retaliation if the West crosses Moscow's red lines, though he stopped short of promising direct attacks. The Trump administration is pushing for a 50-day peace deal in Ukraine, adding complexity to the standoff. Meanwhile, U.S. strikes in June severely damaged Iran's Fordow nuclear facility, setting back enrichment by up to 2 years. Other targeted sites may recover sooner, underscoring the challenge of halting Iran's nuclear ambitions. Iran insists its program is peaceful, but tensions remain high. These developments show the fragility of peace in both Europe and the Middle East. The world watches for diplomatic breakthroughs, or further escalation. The stakes: regional stability and global security. NATO's new Secretary General Mark Rutte visited Washington for high-stakes talks with President Trump. The focus: U.S. support for Ukraine and the possibility of sending more weapons, moves that could escalate tensions with Russia. Rutte's visit aimed to align NATO and U.S. strategies as the White House considers a 50-day peace plan. Meanwhile, President Trump is reportedly planning a September trip to Pakistan and India, his first since 2006. Such a visit could reshape regional dynamics and encourage dialogue between two nuclear-armed neighbors. The world is watching for official confirmation and the diplomatic agenda. Presidential diplomacy has the power to shift alliances and open new opportunities. These moves could redefine security and cooperation in both Europe and South Asia. Today's headlines reveal a world in flux, economically, politically, and environmentally. Key events ahead: the International Court of Justice's climate ruling on July 23, which could influence global policy, and the European Central Bank's rate decision on July 24, watched for signs of a September cut. President Trump's potential South Asia tour in September could reshape alliances in a critical region. Each of these moments will have ripple effects far beyond their borders. Staying informed is more important than ever. We'll continue tracking these stories as they unfold. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for more updates on the world's most pressing issues.